This is why, exclusively, they are called PDF files.
Did you just call me a PDF file?
No, because you're not on a list.
The Epstein list for
The
PDF
uneditable,
files.
the uneditable PDF file that
Well,
needs
it is
to be
editable
released.
because he's taken his name off it, but
It is editable. Thank you to Microsoft.
redacted.
Redacted. Space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Adequate. Unlike Jeffrey Epstein, we don't hang ourselves. Our ongoing mission.
We hang out together, not ourselves. Yeah, there we go.
Our ongoing mission, before we are cancelled and replaced by something less risque, to review every episode and movie of Star Trek in existence, to seek out new guests who suddenly don't want to be on the show and make them very uncomfortable, to boldly go where many other Star Trek-based YouTube shows have gone before a lot sooner than us in this instance. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers throughout this fine planet Earth. Welcome to a live yet late episode of Trekking Up North. I am one of your hosts, Captain Goodwill of the USS Adequate, and joining me as ever is the delectable Devian Geesian from the planet Honk, who contractually is obliged to make my life a living hell once we've got a routine, then goes, nope, I can't do that. You must work around me. You must base your life on my decisions.
It really is, though. It really is like you sitting there dreading just the message from me being like, by the way, Friday, not looking too good.
I know it's going to be bad. I know it's going to be bad when the voice notes are less than 2 minutes. I'm like, oh God, someone's either died or he can't make it. Because if it's a normal voice note, it's about 18 minutes. Like you sent me a voice note today. One. Yeah, you sent me a voice note today, right? I was at work, all right? And I saw the voice note and it was over 2 minutes and I went, has someone died or is this an emergency? And you were like, no, don't worry. It's just me ranting. And I'm like, oh, thank God.
I was just like, you just being like, is this an emergency? And I'm like, no, not in the slightest. This is totally irrelevant to anything.
And then I got in the car and I listened to the voice note and I'm like, what?
I can't remember what it was about, but yeah.
Do you know what made it even more? Do you know what made it even more glorious? Because at the moment in the northeast of England or the north of England, we're experiencing a storm. I had the window down in the car as I was about to go home. His voice came through the Bluetooth speakers in my car. Yeah. So people were driving past and hearing like a blustery gale and then Synoiz going on and then they did this. And I'm just like, see you tomorrow.
I actually cannot remember what we were actually discussing. It was work related, wasn't it? It was like talking about Trek. Maybe?
No.
Okay, well, I will re-listen to it after this, but I send you lots of nonsense.
You said I should have been on a list, and I went, but Synoiz, the list is uneditable.
That's it.
Anyway.
Not anymore, Microsoft Edge. But
you thought...
You can now edit PDF files.
That's what the Clintons did. You thought... Control cut. You thought it was a Twitch night for Captain Goodwill. You are wrong, because we are here live on the YouTubes to review. Hang on, my YouTube is not working. There we go. You thought we would have forgotten a space adventure hour. You thought, they thought it was pap. They're not going to review that. You were wrong, because we are here to cover episode 4 of Strange New Worlds, a space adventure hour. Possibly the most meta Star Trek episode we have had for a while, and I liked it. I really liked it.
You know what's been really interesting? It's been quite good getting the delay. Obviously, it's unintentional. It's my
Yeah.
terrible schedule that's meant that we've had to be like,
We
how
joke.
do we get
Yeah.
this out before we need to do the next
We
one?
do joke.
Which is
We
why we're
do
doing it
joke.
tonight.
Yeah, we do
Like
joke.
to the
But honestly,
to the
our
point.
schedules.
Yeah, but to the point where we were going to pre-record it, but then we were like, but then it's going to take longer to like to render and then put on YouTube, so it'll be even later in the week. So we're like, let's just do a live one. We'll do it live.
So for those that don't know, me and Synoiz both have full-time jobs, and I literally have about 2 hours of spare time a weekday, and normally I dedicate that to being tortured on Twitch. So I was thinking, well, we could record it, but then I've got no way to render it, upload it, get it promoted. I was like, fuck it, we'll do it live. And we do joke, but our schedules, they are insane. I think I've been doing voiceovers for a project that Isaac is doing. I've been working on the best of both worlds for a search for Trek in the background, doing some editing, and then I have to do. I'm doing Clone Star podcast this week. I'm doing 2 Twitch episodes this week, and then we will be doing episode 5 of Strange New Worlds. So I'm sort of like, when am I going to have time for? Oh, I'm never going to sleep. Oh, okay.
It really is.
Fentanyl it is.
But we are getting through it. But the interesting thing about us doing this like later than usual is that we've gotten to see what everyone else is saying about it, like what all of the other podcasts are saying. And it's interesting, you know, because I've had a big discussion with Joe from Captain's Quadrant, because he was very much kind of like, oh, why are they putting all this romance into Strange New Worlds? Remember when like Trek used to be about exploration? And I'm like, and you know, one of those things where you see something, you're like, I could not disagree more. Like, actually, you know what? And then so we got into this lovely discussion about it and stuff, about like this. And the more I talked about this episode, like rather than this being our first chance to talk about a particular episode, it was good doing it and then just kind of going, wow, I really liked this. Like, actually, the amount of depth in this particular episode and what it brings to Star Trek and the show as in general is wonderful. And it was kind of wonderful having that with like through that discussion with Joe.
Do you know what it felt like? For the first time in a long time, bar Star Trek Picard or anything like that, this felt like an old school TNG episode where we got holodeck mishaps, we got science mishaps, and then we just got crew development. We got the ensemble development and exploration, which is what Star Trek is known for best, where you've got an ensemble cast and they dedicate episodes. I mean, obviously with Strange New Worlds and modern day Trek, there's like 10, 13 episodes and that's your lot. Whereas back in the 90s, it was 20, 22, 26 episodes. So they had the breathing room to expand on these characters and fully flesh them out. And what we see here is, although they've got 10 episodes, they go, well, no, let's take the time and expand on La'an, expand on her character, on what she likes, and let's bring in like an age-old Star Trek trope from the last 40 years, and let's show the origins of that and why we don't see it. Because one of the biggest issues modern-day Trek had was we saw the holodeck in Star Trek Discovery in a battle simulation, and everyone went, you can't have them, this is the original series era, they didn't have holodecks. And again, what Strange New Worlds does best, it takes those little problems that they've had all the way through Star Trek's history and go, this is why you don't see it, or this is why it's seen here and never seen there. And they are so passionately explaining every minute detail to sort of like fix what I'm not saying what Discovery did
seamlessly.
Yeah, they do it seamlessly.
The thing is obviously like it's a bit like Star Wars where it's trying to sort of repair its canon, because you get like some entries where you just go, okay, you added that to the mix and that's going to be a difficult one to justify. And I think with Discovery, like, because Enterprise, we see the beginnings of holodecks where they encounter those
Yes.
aliens that have a holodeck, and then they're kind of
Yep.
like, oh, okay, and you can see that they've gone, let's try and do that ourselves. And then obviously Discovery once again goes like, this is a bit too advanced. Like this doesn't really make sense in the
Yeah.
capacity of it. And then Strange New Worlds is trying to fix the problem by going like, oh yeah, like a battle simulation. Oh, I've done them, but they need to be on big fancy sort of like
Yeah.
space stations, and they require loads of power and stuff. And then it kind of goes, okay, cool. So we've kind of justified Discovery a little bit and tidied that up, but
Yeah.
also it kind of points out like this is why they're not in the original series, because effectively the plot of this episode is that they test out a prototype holodeck, and then they realize it causes loads and loads of problems, and they basically realize there's a lot of issues with running a holodeck on a ship that wasn't designed to run one. And so it gives that wonderful thing of going, oh, that's why it doesn't exist in TNG, because it in the original series, because it doesn't fit onto the ships yet. Whereas when we get to the TNG stage, they've gone, oh, we've worked out how to implement it without it overloading all the power systems and without it sort of becoming dangerous. And that's amazing that it's fit in there. But the thing is, this episode is wonderful because there's so many themes that it goes into. Like, this is a commentary on Star Trek in general. This is like a attack on the people complaining about Star Trek being woke, but it's done in the most like surreptitious way.
It's
I think
done. It's done. I would
as
dare
well as
to
being
say,
a homage to Trek itself.
I would dare to say this is done in the most Roddenberry way possible. Whereas Star Trek, where the original series and most of Star Trek has been a tool, a device, if you will, that shines a light on modern day social commentary, political issues, and everything like that. This shines a light on Star Trek itself, both in the 60s and what is currently happening with Star Trek and Paramount, where there was a scene where Uhura's character goes on about how the last frontier shines a light on current situations and gives people that glimmer of hope.
Hold on, I wrote it down simply because I didn't expect us to get to this so soon, but I will point out that I think the best bit of the whole episode is Uhura's monologue. Like the idea that it's almost like an attack at Paramount, like a sort of tongue-in-cheek attack at Paramount, being like, this is why you need to give us more than 5 seasons. This is why you need to give Lower Decks more time. This is why you need to trust in like other properties and stuff, rather than being like, hey, we tried something and it didn't make us millions, so we gave up on it. Because her speech basically describes Star Trek as social commentary with rubber masks and buried metaphor, a digestible reflection of their own world through the lens of fantasy. And it's absolutely brilliant. But then basically talks about how good it is. Like, you don't think some kid is going to see this show and spend the rest of their life searching for the stars. And that's exactly what happened, though. Like, the wonderful thing, a lot of the notes that I made about this episode are that you know that thing how sci-fi informs our technology. Like, we wouldn't have tablets without Star Trek. We wouldn't have like sort of Alexas and stuff without Star Trek. Like all of these things that people have seen in sci-fi and they've gone, I'm going to make that in real life. And the idea of the AI, like, it's crazy that when Laan starts the simulation, she talks to it like we would talk to ChatGPT, where she just goes, create me a simulation of this, doing this and this and this, like mixing these together. And it's kind of full circle where we're going, hey, Strange New Worlds is now celebrating real life, celebrating what Star Trek was. But anyway, sorry. But about the Uhura monologue, the fact that she says, like, but you can't do any of that without a season 2. And that's so incredibly true about, we need more Star Trek. We need more Strange New Worlds. We need more Lower Decks. We need things to be allowed to breathe rather than them being like, oh, well, get out before we have to give them rights. Like, money is always more important than the actual show now. Back then, they were trying to cancel Trek because it was being too political, it was being too different, it was, it had colored people with opinions, and it had like sort of women on the bridge and whatnot. And that's what makes it great, that it wasn't afraid to do that, even if everyone was trying to stop it.
Well, when they find out that the Last Frontier has been cancelled, and Kirk's character goes, "But we're a hit," and then he looks at Jess Bush's character and he goes, "Oh, ratings," and that's exactly why the original series of Star Trek was on the brink of cancellation twice, because it may have been a cult hit, it may have had fans, but the ratings were never there. And again, but paralleling what Uhura's character said, the network were afraid. They the vision that Gene Roddenberry had, or TK, what's his name in this? TK Williams.
Oh, damn it! I didn't write it down.
Man's character TK, yeah.
Him.
But
yeah.
TK is
Burroughs.
literally
TK
Burroughs is literally Gene Roddenberry, and mounted. Worked with Frakes to base the character on Gene Roddenberry to a certain extent. But again, they shine a light on Paramount back in the 60s and Paramount right now, especially with considering this was done a couple of years ago. It's very symbolic about what is going on at that network at the moment. That how they are afraid of stuff like this because of the ramifications of certain influencing, shall we say, larger entities in that certain country,
larger orange entities
with very small orange things on them. But it's how it's affecting, the how Star Trek will exist, and a lot of people are quite rightly saying, does this mean that Star Trek will change? Does this mean that the progressive nature of Star Trek as a whole will see a shift in tone? And a lot of people are going, nope, Star Trek will always be Star Trek. But you have to realize, if you go down that defiant route and you've got a network that's willing to bend over to capitulate to certain orange things, one and the same cannot go together. These two things cannot coexist together. And I just love that for an episode made 2 years ago, just how relevant the messages in it are today.
It is, and it's also a homage to the people who are the most important in Star Trek lore. Like you say, Gene Roddenberry. We have TK Burroughs, who is like the parallel for Gene Roddenberry. We have Sonny Lupino, played by Una, who is a parallel for Lucille Ball.
Lucille,
the reason that Trek exists, because someone had faith in this idea and went, I don't care if it's not popular. I'm gonna put all my money on this horse, kind of thing, and I'm gonna and that's the thing. I had to do research to basically go, when she's talking about she sold the house in order to afford it, is that true? And it's just that thing of going, and it's such a love letter to Trek and whatnot. And then we have Uhura's character. I forget the name that they gave her in this, but Uhura's character, who seems a parallel for Nichelle Nichols because of how important the role of Uhura was, and it's obviously, we have the famous time that the famous story of Martin Luther King Jr. speaking to her and being like, do you realize how important what you were doing is, and made her, got her to stay on the show. And I don't know, it's just this is a beautiful episode, and it's what Strange New Worlds does so well, that it manages to tell a story, get a message across, work through all of these incredible themes, and also just be an enjoyable bit of television.
It is so
and get great
enjoyable.
Character development.
Yeah, it is so enjoyable that they tell all that message through the medium of a science fiction show testing out a holodeck, which is representing a murder mystery novel.
Yeah, it's the fact of, you could spend the whole episode talking about the holodeck and stuff like that and whatnot, and then it still manages to get flesh out Scotty's character. It still manages to flesh out Spock's character, and you're just wow. This is the thing. And then obviously for something else like Discovery, this would be we wouldn't get this much development in a 5-episode arc, but we get lots of explosions and stuff, but this somehow even still manages to have a bit of peril in it, Where there's like two bits of peril, and we have like, oh, they're trying to fly away from the exploding nebula, and you're like going, wow, that's
Only in Star Trek, could they study a neutrino star so frigging close to it and be
Yeah.
absolutely chill and run holodeck simulations where it's just like, hey, when we're studying this star, we're dangerously close, so what we're going to do is dedicate all of our processing power to a murder mystery novel.
You know what? I will say, out of, I love this episode. I have so much praise for this episode, but I'd say out of all of the episodes we've had this season, this is the one with the most holes in. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of holes in this episode.
Yeah.
And I will forgive them because Strange New Worlds is amazing. But you are just sitting there being like, okay, so no one went. Maybe we shouldn't be doing these two very dangerous things at exactly the same time. Like,
It was
and no one
clear,
thought
yeah.
and no one went like, hey, maybe we should actually have some other engineers involved, like, because there are other engineers. It's not just Scotty and Pellier running the entire ship.
Also, Pellier's on shore leave whilst
Yeah.
these two experiments are going on.
Yeah, and it is. There's so many holes in this, and I know it needs to happen because the plot needs to happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you are sitting there being like, really, like these are some dumb decisions by the crew.
I want to talk because the
Hi Sarah in the chat.
hello
and
to
hi,
everybody in the
Transport
chat, by the way.
Room.
Hello to Transport Room, Chris, another space nut. The man with the shed-sized chest has beamed in. David Jones, our resident Trekkie actor.
Can I get inside Davy Jones's locker? Is that an option, David?
Just
Especially if it's shed sized. Oof.
in all credit to David, I'm going to give him a massive shout out. He has landed a speaking role.
Yay!
So
Exciting
congratulations to Scott Bakula added to STLV. Of course. Right. We turned down Destination Trek, Anson Mount Me attends. We turned down STLV, Scott Bakula attends. I am starting to get a complex that people are going, Goodwill's not attending. Bring out the main characters.
The worst thing is, I found out the other day that I am actually going to be free Destination Weekend.
Oh, damn you.
And I'm just
Damn
like,
you.
oh,
I'm
okay,
not,
maybe.
I am absolutely not free. I was supposed to gradually reintroduce things into my life. My definition of gradually is a tsunami, a 500-foot tidal wave of work, because apparently I run on anxiety and caffeine for most of my life. But yeah, so the main gist of this story is the Enterprise is studying a neutrino star, and at the same time, La'an has been tasked with testing out a new recreational deck or holodeck for prolonged use on starships, because the Federation has found out how to essentially make starships run longer than 5 years at warp, allowing more exploration. So obviously recreational things and stuff like that are going to be needed on these ships.
I do like, though, how realistic it is that the barrier isn't like, that the ships can't run for 5 years, like, out in space. It's the idea of going, everyone would go mad, everyone would get cabin fever, and therefore the solution to it is going, hey, we can do longer journeys if we actually just have recreational facilities and things like the holodeck that can make people pretend that they're back on Earth or whatever. And I there's something I like about that.
It's fantastic because it also again goes back to why we don't see it until the next generation. And let's not forget, with the next generation in the Enterprise D, they had schools, they had families, they had children on board, and it was a literal floating city. So, this had recreational holodecks and everything like that. And this is just like the setting up to that, to go, hey, if we're going to be exploring deep space for longer than 5 years, people are going to go stark raving mad just staring at a bulkhead. We're going to need these facilities. We're going to need, to give this crew the ability to experience sunlight and fresh air and everything like that, even if it is in a simulated environment. And it's very... like you said, it's very grounded in Star Trek, and it's very like, this is why we have it. Do you know what I mean? Because it was never really explained. It was never really explained in the next. Yeah, it was never explained in the Next Generation. It was sort of like, we have a holodeck, and you can do whatever you want in it. Not, hey, the Enterprise D could probably be away from the Federation for years and years on end, and we've got these, so cabin fever doesn't set in with the crew and stuff like that. And you think,
but this is the whole thing, though, that it's like, once technology's out there, you don't need to justify it anymore. And while it does say in TNG that it's a fairly new thing that they're doing, like, you know, I don't think Riker's experienced one when he in the first episode. But it's the fact of like, it isn't shocking enough that it needs like just justification. People have heard of holodecks before, like they exist, but they just haven't done that. Whereas this is very much kind of going like, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to flesh that out a bit and go, this is why they were designed. Like, this is why a starship has them on. Because obviously the whole thing is, the writers originally didn't really think about sort of, oh, it's for deep space travel or whatever. They were just like, how can we have a Robin Hood episode? Like, how can we actually, you know, I'm pretty confident that they put it in as a narrative device and then round it back in terms of justification. But it's everything about it is wonderful that it does that. So this episode is that she tests that out. She mentions that it's similar to battle simulations or whatever, to tie Discovery into it and kind of justify that. And it's quite good that they've got it where they show this relationship between Una and La'an, that Una goes, you asked for a challenge, so you're welcome. But the important thing, like, this is when I was not saying arguing, but when I was like speaking to Joe from Captain Squadron,
vigorously with
I was
fists.
saying like they were saying, you know, they were basically saying like, oh, you know, La'an, you know, it's weird that La'an's got this kind of development. And I'm just like, no, because what we're seeing, sorry, this is my whole conspiracy theory about Lower Decks, and this is why the romance is important and why it's really important to Strange New Worlds, is we have to set the pieces up for the original series. We are at A, well, we're currently at B currently, and we've got to get all the way to C. And so it's the idea of, that's why we had the episode with Umbenga, I believe, like last time, of going, hey, we're going into that because we need to justify why he gets demoted, why he is no longer on the ship at the time of the original series. We need to know why Scotty has taken over and what development Scotty has gone through in order to be the chief engineer, and why Pellier and stuff isn't there. We also need to know why La'an isn't there, okay, is another big thing, and also why Spock is only leaning into his Vulcan side throughout all of the original series. So we need Spock to be embracing his human side, like we've seen in the last like couple of seasons, and falling in love and doing things, because there's going to be a tragedy at some point. So the idea of if the you know, it would basically solve everything if we had Spock getting very close to La'an, which is what we get in this episode, and then La'an not surviving to TOS, and then Spock being like, human emotions are bad. I need to be Vulcan. I need to be the best example of Vulcan you're ever going to get.
Yeah.
Thus, how he is in this. Whereas people are watching it now without realizing that there's still progression and episodes to be had, and going, Spock would never act like this. Like, Spock would never be sort of like... And also, I think there was an argument made for going, oh, he wouldn't be romantic outside of Pon Farr. And you're like, well, he hasn't slept with anyone. He's not having sexual desires. He's having romantic desires, and that's a very different thing. Like how he feels about Nurse Chapel. We didn't see them like fuck. You know, we didn't see them fuck. We saw them wake up in bed together, which is what couples do, regardless of that. So all of it fits for me. Like, I think they're playing a blinder with how they're getting these characters developed to be in the original series.
Let's not forget, guys, we have literally got only 20 episodes left of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. That's it. 20 episodes to get from where we are now to the original series. Just 20.
Yeah.
Now, in the 90s, you'd go, you couldn't do that. You got one season? No, impossible. You could not do that. They have got 20 episodes to get there. They've got 20 episodes to progress. So they have got their work cut out from them. The chat is going on about
more characters.
and the chat is going on about STLV. we would have loved to have gone this year, but there was this thing, Chris, called money and time. We do not have
Neither
either.
of us have the money and time at the moment. But
next
we
year,
have discussed next year, haven't we?
We
So
have.
it is...
There is there is murmurings. There is going to be a united UK front attending STLV next year.
That sounds weird.
Well, it's going to be yeah, maybe
It's got
not.
a bit reform.
No, we won't be using dinghies.
A national front, you say?
Defender of our country, CUNTRY. We are. In all seriousness, there is a lot of discussions going on in the background where Trekkin Up North, Clone Star, Trek Culture, all the podcasts that you know and love are all going to descend on STLV in 2026, because let's not forget, it is Star Trek's 60th anniversary next year. So it is going to be a big one. So the decision was made this year purely because finances, time. We won't do anything this year, and we'll dedicate all of our resources to next year, where we will do the UK and then we will do STLV. So I'm working hard in the background to be like, yeah. I need money. Hello, OnlyFans.
I'm not.
He's just robbing a bank, but we are looking at STLV next year for that. So I can't wait to meet each and every one of you. David, you're probably going to be the only Canadian hitting Vegas in the next year or so, so you're going to be welcomed with open arms. I very much welcome it. But this episode, again, it's a La'an episode, but it's a nice La'an episode where we don't get into her trauma. We don't get into the backstory of her insecurities. We celebrate something that she loves with her.
This is the thing, though. It's the fact of we have both people who are progressing, where we have Spock, who is progressing to the point where he is going to get insular. He is going to get back into himself and become like more Vulcan. But then we have La'an going the opposite way, where she's come from trauma. She's come from being very sort of like tight, tight up kind of thing. And now she's kind of embracing the crew. She's embracing her friends. She's embracing enjoyment, and she's embracing love for the first time. And it's wonderful that these two characters are like going on this sort of like parallel journey, and they've intersected, and now they're gonna, and that's where it's gonna go. And I love that. Like, I love the character development we've had on La'an. And for people to be like, oh, it's too much romance, you're like, that's how plots, work, And then people saying there's not enough exploration. I'm like, didn't we just get into Gorn space for the first time, where we actually went into a singularity? Didn't we just go into the Klingon demilitarized zone that I don't think we've been in before?
If there was not enough,
and then didn't we just get zombies last week?
If there was not enough exploration and too much romance, have you ever seen the original series?
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of exploration.
That wasn't romance.
And spoiler alert, Kirk fucks. A lot.
Can that be a t-shirt, Goodwill? Spoiler alert, Kirk fucks.
I have been asked about merchandise. That's the first one. But in all seriousness, like the original series, that's what it was like. It was full of romance. It was full of seduction. Kirk would fall in love with someone within 35 minutes because obviously he's got some mental health issues. But that's what the original series was. And when you look at The Last Frontier, and I know we're zigzagging all over the place, but I don't care. The way that everything is done in The Last Frontier scenes is by far and away my most favorite thing this season so far. And I'm going to sit up. I'm going to sit up now.
Oh.
Everything about this is perfect. Okay, the sound effects are from the original series. The sets are so original series, plastic and cardboard and wood and everything like that. What I find absolutely joyful though, and what I love, because I am such a nerd, and yes, I need to get a life, it's the editing jump cuts in these scenes. It is the sheer lack of continuity when it comes to positioning of the cast. And
I knew you were going to talk about this.
I lapped this up. Like, I was like, yes, delicious, delicious, give me more. Because everything was so perfect about it. Just the way that the characters would be, you know, when the camera moves in the different position, or they're sitting down, or they're leaned over another position and stuff like that. It was just so perfect. And it was done as the most light-hearted yet loving tongue-in-cheek to the original series as possible. And I just loved each and every... The intro with the USS Adventurer, where they used the actual background scenes from the 2005 remaster of the original series. The font from the original series, which is that one. The colour... Oh, I loved it so much. And this is the type of crew that you want working on Star Trek, because they know that it's not just, there's the Enterprise, there's Kirk. They're like, no, here is that.
Oh,
here
no,
is
there's
that
a
sound
character
effect.
called Kirk. He doesn't have any relation to what Kirk is actually meant to be. But
here's this sound effect that was only relevant to the red light on the console on the bridge of the original series Enterprise in season 1. But we have got this sound effect for you. Here is the sound effect of this button being pressed on the bridge in 1960s, and we've got it just for you. It's that level of detail mixed in with the deliberate shitness.
Yeah,
it's
that's
brilliant.
It. Mixed in with the deliberate shitness, because I think that's what I enjoy the most. The fact that it can take the mick out of itself. It can.
It's
can
so
kind of go
good.
Like, we were never this crap, but we like the idea that we could be remembered this way. Like, for instance, the Argonian. Is it Argonian? The
Argonians, yeah.
The Argonian, where it's just got its eyeballs on sticks, but you can see that the hands carrying the sticks for the tentacles, and it's so crap. And even the joke of basically at the end in the bloopers that we get at the end of the episode, where you realise that the creature is wearing jeans underneath all of that.
Oh,
and it's
God
almost
damn it.
like it's like but it's almost like RuPaul off Drag Race, where they're sitting down in full drag but they're wearing jeans underneath it all, and it's that kind of like, it's pure television, it's pure joy. And however, though, like, while I absolutely adore them, we talk about it being lighthearted. Do you feel the portrayal of Kirk in this, like of William Shatner, is lighthearted? I felt it went for the jugular a bit. Like, because they have the character Maxwell Saint, who is their version of Kirk in this, played by the actor who plays Kirk in Strange New Worlds, and he is basically very Shatner throughout the entire episode. He's basically doing an impression of Shatner doing Kirk, and then later on in the episode where it's him as the actor, he is very negatively portrayed, and I wonder if it is very pointed.
I think it is two things. It is when Maxwell Saint's on set and you've got the Kirk character. I think Paul Wesley 100% nails TOS Captain Kirk, and then not only nails it, hams it up to 150%, so it's more comical. So the pauses in the speech, the staring into the distance, stuff like that, what, you know, everyone has took the piss out all over the last 60 years. He nails and then hams it up. So even Star Trek pokes fun of it.
We even get a scene later where the Gene Roddenberry character goes like, "Could you try delivering the line like an actual human being?" You know?
But he hams it up. He hams it up. So this is the first time that Star Trek is actively making fun of how TOS Kirk behaves. But then we see the darker side, shall we say, of Shatner, because let's not forget, it wasn't all sunshine and lollipops in the 1960s on the set of Star Trek. and we get to see, not only with Maxwell Saint, but with Jesh Bush's character, who is very obviously Yeoman Rand and is a parallel of Yeoman Rand. So with Maxwell Saint,
did leave the show.
With Maxwell Saint, it was the darker side where he was a bit of a bully, and Takei and Shatner had this feud, and it was it was an active feud, and he was the quintessential "I am the star of the show" type syndrome. But then you get Jesh Bush's character, who is literally a representation of Yeoman Rand, who basically, even in the interview scene where she goes, did you know you were getting written out? Did you know that the show was getting cancelled? And she was like, I sort of knew it. My lines got shorter, as did my skirt line. And that is a direct Yeoman Rand reference, where her lines eventually got shorter. The outfit was very, because Gene Roddenberry did like a short skirt. But she wasn't even written out of the show. She just left because of dark things that happened behind the scenes that we will not discuss on a YouTube show for obvious reasons.
It's the fact that Star Trek has always had that. So there's always been, obviously, we have a lot of the controversy around Terry Farrell and whatnot. Like, it's the lead in the show. And it's the fact that that's always been there. And I kind of love that Strange New Worlds is having this episode where it does put it all into the light of just being like, we need to talk about this, because there is this dark undercurrent to Star Trek and whatnot. It's almost like it's a love letter, but it's also a kind of like, we're fully we're fully aware of the issues.
But using The Last Frontier as a parallel to Star Trek, and then using it as a device to have this murder mystery, but also brings in things that actually happened in the 60s with Paramount, Gene, Lucille, and everything like that, and then turning it into this murder mystery is just, it's pure brilliance. Because like you said at the top of the show with Lucille Ball, she poured dollars into Star Trek where no one else
she is
would
the mother
give this
of
a
Trek,
try. Yeah,
you know,
where no
Gene
one else
is the father, she is the mother. You know,
where no one else would give this a try. Desilu sank everything into Star Trek, and really, she thoroughly believed in this. And then it just to show that side of it in Star Trek, to show that Sonny Lupino, you know, she sold the house. She didn't go to the mall. She sold a house, and you know, she was being poached for a deal at NBC, and she believed in The Last Frontier, but they wanted to cancel it, and you know, she didn't want something like this to cancel. She poured her life into it. It just, you know, hearing those stories that I have, you know, I've listened to the stories, I've seen the documentaries, I've read the books, I've been at the studio, I have been at Paramount, I have been where Lucille Ball lived in Paramount Studios, to the point where, because she had a place in the actual studio, she imported the bricks and cobbles from her home outside of her home in New York to the studio outside of her house. You know, I've been there, and she was a force to be reckoned with when it came to Star Trek. And just the way that she's portrayed in here, you know, yes, it's a little bit hammed, but it honors that. But in a way, Gene Roddenberry is painted in the same light as Kirk, both in light and in darkness. So the one thing that this episode does not shy away from is, you've got all these heroes from the original series of the 60s. You've got, you know, Lucille Ball, you've got Gene Roddenberry, William Shatner, and everything like that. We're going to show them, but we're also going to show the darker side that maybe you weren't aware of, and we're going to parallel it in The Last Frontier with Sonny Lupino and TK. And it does it so well.
It is a tour de force of writing, and I'm so, it's just crazy how good Strange New Worlds is, that it can pull off this kind of episode, because
it's insane.
We get everything in this episode, and this is only episode 4 of the season. It's like, and it also adds extra stuff to it, like, as in, there is actually a mystery here. There is like a murder mystery in the episode. Now, it's a bit of a,
I had a question for you.
Trick, though, you know.
I had a question for you. Okay, so obviously the overall mystery is solved,
Yeah.
However, I have a question for you, Science Officer Synoiz. With the power of deduction in that fine moustache of yours, who killed the first guy? Who killed Tony?
Who killed Tony? I do think it was the killer that we get, like, because that's how the program's written.
Do you think? Never explained.
It's an interesting one. It
Chat.
is never explained, but well, what we'll do, like, chat.
I'm going to do a poll. I'm going to do a poll.
Tell us if you want to spoil the episode, obviously, because obviously
if you want to spoil it, if you don't want me to spoil it, I mean, no one knows who Tony is.
You haven't seen it yet,
fine.
you know.
Yeah, because we don't know. That's the thing. I want to know what everyone else thinks. Who killed Tony? Was it right? I tell you what, I'm going to.
Who is Tony parallel for, though? You know how we talk about all these things? Like, is
Studio
he parallel
execs.
to a particular person? Yeah, that's it. Is he parallel to a particular person? Or is it just shadowy studio execs?
He's a symbolism of Paramount execs using the guise of the Nielsen ratings, which is famously, and this is me being boring, and I apologize to everyone. This is me going back to my television production course days. The Nielsen ratings are so fabulously unreliable when it comes to American television. It is to the point of laughable. Like, if we had in the UK, if we had Nielsen ratings in the UK, I guarantee you, Coronation Street, Emmerdale, EastEnders, all these long-running soaps that we have had for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, gone. Absolutely gone. All those fantastic shows
it's not
that
all
people
bad,
want
then.
It's EastEnders is not all bad, but the long-running shows, all 7 episodes of them, would have been cancelled after the first episode because of these Nielsen ratings. All these long series that we've has England ever had a long series apart from a soap?
No, we had Crossroads that ran for bloody ages, I think, but the rest,
It ran too much, yeah. But like stuff like that would have been cancelled had we had adopted the Nielsen rating system that America does. And it shows. I mean, again, Paul Wesley's character, where Maxwell Saint, where he goes, cancelled, but we're a hit, and then she looks at him and he goes, "Oh, the Nielsen ratings." And
that's the thing. Ratings. Yeah.
Oh, ratings, and that's the thing, and Paramount, and that is a controversy. That is a controversy when it came to Star Trek. Did Paramount try and cancel TOS Trek because of the Nielsen ratings, or because of the messages that it was transmitting at a turbulent time in the 1960s? When you've got so many movements happening in the 1960s, was it too much of a risk for Paramount and NBC at the time to broadcast this? Do you know what I mean? And it's very interesting. But I'm going to do that poll as Synoiz keeps talking. So talk away, young darling.
I love, though, that the episode is allowing us to have this conversation. I mean, like, think about, this is just one episode of Strange New Worlds, and we're talking about the character development between all the characters. We're talking about the science of the holodeck. We're talking about, like, the actual history of Star Trek and Lucille Ball and Gene Roddenberry. Like, it is just, and also we're it's inspiring us to speculate on what the end of the, on what is going to happen later on. And that's the best thing. It's like we were saying about how it's so much better to get episodic, releases of shows rather than just like Stranger Things, where they just went because I remember in Nerdy Up North, when the last season of Stranger Things happened, people had watched it by 5 a.m. It got, the whole series got put on Netflix at midnight. They'd watch the whole thing at 5 a.m. and then they're like, right, done, let's talk about it. And that was it. There was no I wonder what's going to happen here. I wonder what's going to happen there. The fact that we can have these discussions about what's happening with Mbenga, what is Ortega's going to get their own episode? Are they did that? Is only because they're releasing it in this episodic format, and we're allowed to savor the joy that is good Trek. I think.
And I famously pride myself where I'm going. I'm going to avoid all spoilers. I'm going to avoid everything like that. And then SDCC happened last weekend, where they did an advanced screening of this, and the poster that you see at the beginning, that is the poster I took off SDCC. So I knew this was coming, but still I didn't know I try to stay away from any sort of description, because I firmly believed when we saw this in the trailer that, the Enterprise is going to go into the future and, somehow have a holodeck or something like that. And I thought it was going to be like a 24th century episode or anything like that. And I was mistaken. And I wasn't disappointed. I was surprised, because I was like, oh, okay, so they have a holodeck in this. How does that work? And the way that they do it, it was so satisfying. Like we said, like the way they explained it, it was so satisfying. And I feel that deliberately avoiding spoilers this season has been very beneficial when it comes to reviewing these episodes, because it allows me to go in with my own free will and make up my own mind and experience everything for the first time. And there is a scene at the end of this episode where I'm like, oh, do you know what I mean? And I'm just like, oh, and I have not done that for a long, until, the last season cliffhanger of Strange New Worlds, where I'm like, oh my God, do you know what I mean? But this is making me do that. It's making me get engrossed. And people might think, oh, this is a daft holodeck episode. But it's so much more. And the one thing that we see with Strange New Worlds, I'm going to call it the most bipolar Star Trek series ever made, because it just flips from darkness and terror and, peril to lightheartedness, to fun, to romance, to fan service, to nostalgia, to delivering poignant messages to the audience. And I love it. I love it so much. And I'm going to make this plea now, because this was mentioned at SDCC last week. We know that Strange New Worlds is ending with season 5. It's unavoidable. Unless it becomes insanely popular in the next 20 episodes, it's ending. That's how Paramount works. But there is a movement inside Paramount and outside of Paramount when it comes to Kirk. Now, in the original series, Kirk had been in command for a little bit before we got the original series, where No Man Has Gone Before. There is a movement within Paramount to have something called Star Trek Year One, with Kirk in command of the Enterprise.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
And to see, because basically what they're saying is, obviously Strange New Worlds, it looks like it's going to end with Kirk taking command of the Enterprise, and we're going to see the transition, if you will, within the next 20 episodes from the Strange New Worlds crew to the TOS crew. I want to see, if we don't have it, I want to see that active transition with Kirk in command. I want to see it's how it
needs to go. It would be insane not to.
And I think if they don't do it with Strange New Worlds, we need a Star Trek Year One. We need, even if it's just a mini series, so even if they say this will chart the first 2 years of Kirk's mission, all right? So the original series was 3 years. This will chart the first 2 years, ergo 5-year mission. Even if we just have that, you've essentially bridged a gap between Strange New Worlds and the original series, and it'll be one continuous thing. So I would absolutely love that. I haven't seen much movement on it past that, but I think the way that Strange New Worlds is being received, and the way Paul Wesley is being received as well, I think it needs to happen.
The problem here, in going back to the episode, is that's exactly what this episode is. There is so many people that want to see like a Star Trek Legacy. There's so many people who want to see more of Lower Decks. There's so many people that want to see more of Strange New Worlds. However, they're not looking at the actual people. They're not looking about whether it's a hit. They're going, oh, the ratings. And so what we've got in the UK especially is the fact that Paramount are going to be going like, oh, well, loads of people didn't sign up for our stupid Paramount Plus service, which is the only way to actually watch this. So if they're not willing to sign up to Paramount Plus purely to watch this one show, it must be no good. And you're like, that is a terrible way of judging anything. Like,
it is awful.
If I wasn't the diehard fan that I was of Trek, I wouldn't have Paramount Plus. There is absolutely no benefit to having it. Whereas if this was something that was on Netflix, if it was something that was on a more popular platform or a more easily accessible platform, everyone would be talking about.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing.
Themselves with this.
This is the thing, and it's quite ironic. So, Netflix in the US added the Star Trek lineup in about 2009, 2010. Since then, we then got Star Trek added to Netflix in 2015 with the announcement of Discovery. Yeah, in the UK, with the announcement of Discovery, they were like, Netflix has done a deal. And immediately, as soon as they did the deal, they brought every bit of Star Trek to Netflix. What we saw between 2010 and 2000, I would say 1820, was an explosive resurgence in people rediscovering or newly discovering Star Trek. We saw people who had, you know, maybe they were too young in the 90s, maybe they were too busy in the 90s, but they rediscovered Deep Space Nine. They rediscovered Voyager. And what surprised me at the time, like where I used to work, people who I would have never have guessed were Star Trek fans, right? Yeah. Would go to me and go, I love Voyager so much. I watched it as a kid and it's come on Netflix and I just watch it and I have binged it and it is my comfort show because it means something to me. It empowers me as a woman to see Catherine Janeway in command and, you know, leading her crew, and I absolutely love it. And same with Deep Space Nine, where they go, I never really got the hype in the 90s. However, I've rewatched it now under a new lens, and oh my God, it is the best Star Trek series I have ever encountered. Next Generation and stuff like, and then people who have never actually seen the original series or the animated series, where they're going back and going, so that's why they do that. That is why that's where that come from. And it was a beautiful resurgence, and you saw it with all the conventions, where the conventions were fairly quiet and mundane. They exploded again with, you know, people rediscovering Star Trek, and they sort of shot themselves in the foot because Paramount, being Paramount, did what they used to do with the ratings in the 90s and the 80s and the 60s, where they'd go, okay, we've got Paramount Plus now, but not a lot of people are subscribing, so people must not like Star Trek. They only look at the subscribers in the United States. They don't look at the subscribers internationally. They don't look at the subscribers in Europe, in Asia, in Germany, in UK, blah, 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 blah.
But also, what kind of a metric is that?
Yeah.
What kind of a metric is that to go, hey, they didn't sign up for our service that has nothing else to watch?
It's insane.
That means they mustn't care about the show. And you're like, no, like, I won't mention it, but I know a lot of people who only pirate things because they're like, yes, I do want to see it, but I will pirate it rather than paying for Paramount Plus. And you're sort of going like, well, they're not going to have that on their ratings. And I don't think they factor that in. They have no way of doing it.
There is no tangible data. Yeah. They are still living in an era of I would liken it to the Japanese banking system. Bear with me on this. Bear with me on
this. Do you
have
hand
right?
puppets for this?
I do. This is the Japanese banking system. Moopsie. Okay, this is the Japanese. Did everyone say hello to Moopsie?
Hello, Japanese banking system.
You miserable chat. The Japanese
get voting on the poll, by the way. Who
the Japanese
in the episode for when we get back to it?
The Japanese. Yeah, we will get back to this. I said to Synoiz, only an hour tonight. The Japanese banking system relies on infrastructure built in the 1990s. It relies on websites built in the 1990s because their methodology is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We have a certain subset of people that if we change it, they will be unhappy. And we are comfortable with that, so there is no need to improve it. However, we don't want to take the risk in improving it in case we break it. This is paramount. This is paramount when it comes to ratings, when it comes to measuring metrics of popularities of shows. It doesn't want to take a risk on new stuff. And when it does, it has to be their stringent way. And this is why, and I know this was a long road getting from there to here.
But your
This
time
is
finally
why.
near?
This is why we have got Starfleet Command. Starfleet Command is a show that nobody wanted.
Is it Starfleet Command or is it Academy?
Starfleet Academy, sorry.
Yeah,
this
sorry.
is where Starfleet Academy is a show, right? Now, this has been toyed around for the last 30 years. Nick Mayer wanted a Starfleet Academy show in the 80s and 90s, all right? It was toyed around for 30 years. It was going to be Starfleet Academy in the Lost era, so like the TMP movie era between the Next Generation and those movies. And then there was going to be one set in the Next Gen era, okay? So it was toyed around for a long time. Look at what's happened to Star Trek. Look at what's happening to Star Trek. All the shows that took a risk, all the shows that gained universal fandom popularity are gone. Someone at Paramount went, okay, we'll just have a sequel to Star Trek Discovery.
Well, I think I think the thing is what they did is they basically said, "Hey, we'll have all these shows. Oh, it's doing, it's doing well, it's doing okay, and it's got loads of people who want it and stuff like that. But it's not doing well enough to justify it. Like it's not making money. It's like breaking even. And because you don't need to be successful in television now, you need to be a smash hit. You need to be the Stranger Things. You need to be The Last of Us. You need to be the best show on television for them to go." Okay, and then they run you into the ground like we had with The Walking Dead, like we had with I think the issue is that they're going, hey, it's successful, but it's not money making, and that's the big problem. That's how they're judging the shows.
But the point I'm getting to as well is the conception, not the conception, because Starfleet Academy has been around for 30 years.
Yeah.
The
But
premise.
The thing is, it's something different. It is a roll of the dice. So they're seeing it as just like, Strange New Worlds isn't massive. It isn't the best thing in the world. So we'll just roll the dice again with another show.
But
and
the
it's
premise,
like, no.
the premise. This is what the point I'm getting at is. This shows how Paramount are not listening to the base that they are trying to sell these shows on, where. Rightly or wrongly, Discovery got a lot of stick for a lot of things. Writing, setting, character development, you name it, right? It got a lot of stick. The finale was last year. People barely remember it. People barely discussed it at STLV. I don't think I've heard anyone discuss it since. Right?
I don't think I've heard anyone discuss it since in a positive light. I've heard it compared to a lot.
So, who at Paramount goes, yeah, we'll have a sequel to that. We'll have a sequel to that, and everyone's going to love it, and it's going to be a smash hit, and everyone is going to think this is fantastic. Who thought that? Now, I'm going to watch it. it. And, all Trek is good Trek. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to make my own judgments. But it shows that the people running not Orky or anyone like that, the higher ups, the big wigs, don't actively know what they are doing with the franchise and don't actively partake and understand what's popular, what's not popular, and then gear the productions to what is popular, what could foster popular. Because if you look at the Next Generation, the Next Generation was one singular series. People thought it would just be 20 episodes, go into syndication, and that would be your lot. It started off quite weak. It got popular and then exploded. And then you got Voyager, DS9, Enterprise, and everything like that. The decisions that they are making are just, they're not.
No, the problem is the decisions they're making are business decisions, not artistic decisions.
Yeah.
Because the issue that we have, is Strange New Worlds is the best, I will say that is the best Star Trek series we have had since Voyager. And I know you're going to disagree, but it is, in my opinion. But the fact is, though, they're going, oh wow, we've made a show that resonates with the actual Trek audience,
Hmm.
like where it's got all of the people who are old fans and whatnot, and we've got them back on board. Oh, that's still not enough people. Oh
Yeah.
well, and other people aren't getting into it because they're like, oh, it's old school Star Trek. So what they're doing is they're going like, we need to get the kids involved. We need the younger audience to be involved. We need these people who have never watched Star Trek before to watch Star Trek. And that's why they're doing it, not because they think the fans want Discovery, not because they think the fans want Starfleet Academy. They're just going, oh, well, Strange New Worlds is doing really well, but it's still very niche product like base, like customer base. So we'll just roll the ball again. Hopefully this will be our, I don't know, our space Beverly Hills 91210 or
That's
whatever.
exactly what they wanted. Yeah.
All of these kids tuning in, and then maybe the Trek people will come along, but we don't really give a shit about existing fans.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and this is the thing, they're aiming for the big market. It's literally they're aiming for the, you know, the whole, hey, who cares what we did before? Where's the money at? Where are the viewers at? And it's such a horrible way of doing things. And we saw with Discovery that it fails badly. Yes,
And
Discovery does have a lot of younger fans and stuff, but the fact is it didn't catch on with anyone else. It just catched up with a small fan base that was. So I think what they're trying to do with Starfleet Academy, and I don't think they're succeeding with the reactions that we've seen from the trailers and the promo images and stuff, but I think this was their second shot to be like, okay, if we can marry the Discovery audience with the traditional Trek audience and have this show where we've got the Doctor in it and stuff, and oh look, we've got a reference to the Jem'Hadar and all of these things, that they're going to bring the two people together and double their audience. And obviously the problem is we've already hit the wall of going, I was going to save this for later in the episode, but it's the female Jem'Hadar really worries me because as we've said on this episode, I have absolute faith in Strange New Worlds, and I realized this earlier on in the season of just going, they could announce anything. They could say, hey, we're going to totally retcon, like Voyager was all a simulation or something. Like they could do the most craziest thing in the entire world. Oh, we're going to retcon all of Enterprise or something like that, or like the Xindi War didn't happen, and you'd be like, okay, that's terrifying as a concept. But I have absolute faith that Strange New Worlds would pull it off. And that's crazy to think. But then when you see, you know, because you go, they're going to think about this, they're going to justify it, they're going to explain why the holodeck works this way, they're going to explain why they can't close it off, they're going to explain, like, why Spock's relationship forms in that way, or why Pelly is not there, you know, like, all of that is going to get explained. But then with Discovery, none of it was. They literally were like, our audience needs to be really dumb and just never ask any questions. And with Starfleet Academy, I'd love to think that they're like, okay, there's a reason for the female Jem'Hadar. What happened is the cloning facilities got destroyed in the Alpha Quadrant in the last couple of weeks of the war. They went, okay, cool, we need to actually make Jem'Hadar that grow up really quickly but can actually sexually reproduce. Okay, we're going to need Klingon DNA to do that. Cool. Okay, we do Klingon DNA with that. We can make females and stuff so we can actually breed Jem'Hadar that way. Okay, cool, we're back in business. We don't need the cloning facilities. That would be amazing, but I have absolutely no faith that it has been thought through that level. It is literally just going to be like, oh, she's a Jem'Hadar. Look, fans, we put them in, like with the black and white guy in Section 31. We're like, hey, we didn't think about that this shouldn't be possible, but look, it's a reference, everyone. Let's move on.
This is why
that is what I'm worried about. You know,
this is why I love Synoiz. we know, right? There was 10,000 Jem'Hadar in the Alpha Quadrant. And the Jem'Hadar, they were all male because they are all, for want of a better term, they're clones. They're test tube babies.
They're clones. They did not need sexual organs.
There was never a female Jem'Hadar. Okay, because they were all clones. They were manufactured species for war. So naturally, when a half Klingon, half Jem'Hadar female appeared in the trailer, fans were going, it's not actually possible for there to be a female Jem'Hadar because the Jem'Hadar were clones. And then the tweet happened from Star Trek, from the actual Twitter page.
Yeah.
Where they just went, there's always been female Jem'Hadar.
Yeah, and it's this thing, and that's the verification we didn't need for that the writing is going to be terrible. Where they've gone, hey, actually, rather than thinking of a clever justification for this and fitting it into law,
You've just done
we're
it.
just
You've
gonna
just
do
done it. In the space of
we're
30
just gonna
seconds, you
do
came up
a
with it.
retcon.
Yeah.
You know, they could have happily said, "Oh yeah, after the war, the Jem'Hadar, Odo was faced with the idea of going, hey, if we're going to stop being warlike, what do we do with these? Do we actually just let them die off because they're so bred for war, or do we slowly make them over the time period between the end of the Dominion War and the beginning of Starfleet Academy?
I'm
Do we
literally
go,
going to
hey,
find that tweet.
we domesticate them. But yeah, but the fact is that the tweet makes it so much worse because it just goes, yeah, we didn't think about this. We're having to retcon stuff in order to justify this random bit of diversity casting, which
the
is
tweet or Blue Sky. Must have been Blue Sky.
So upsetting, because it basically tells us that the writing is going to be Discovery level rather than Strange New Worlds or Lower Decks level.
It just,
and it worries me a lot.
It just, I can't find it. It was, I don't know if it was Instagram. I don't know if it was a tweet or something.
Robert Picardo is going to be involved. Like, I'm more upset of just going, don't ruin the Doctor. Don't spoil it. He was really good in Prodigy. It was really true to him and stuff. It was great.
They
the
could
idea
have
of going, oh god, bad writing is going to ruin the Doctor in canon.
They could have, and I have said this to people so many times in the last week and a half. All they had to do was say, here is Starfleet Academy set in the early 24th century. Here is Starfleet Academy set in the 24th century or the 25th century. No one, and I mean very, very few people perhaps, wanted it in the 32nd century because why would teenagers in the 32nd century behave like teenagers in the 21st century? Why does it need to be so far into the future? Like, why?
But then again, it's just like Discovery. They have learned absolutely nothing.
No, they've learned nothing.
Hey, okay, so we need to set it really far in the past so that we don't need to waste time, like, actually fitting to canon. We don't need to actually think about the existing world. We need to fit it. Okay, well, that didn't work. Okay, we'll jump massively into the future, and then we can just have free reign again. And they're doing exactly the same thing. It's like doing the same thing multiple times is madness, and when you expect a different result.
They use it as a device to escape canon traps. But then Strange New Worlds came in and just executed it so beautifully well over the last 3 years that you're going, it's not the show's fault.
I'm still wowed by the whole Pike being the fleet commander thing.
Yeah.
Where he just goes, oh yeah, they made him the commander of the fleet for like one mission, but technically it means that line in the original series is accurate.
But it shows.
That is the attention to detail.
But it shows that it wasn't Discovery that was the problem. It wasn't the setting of Discovery that was the problem. It was the writing ability of the show that hammered it into a corner where another team has come in and went, yeah, Pike, yeah, we're going to do that. And we're going to explain this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this because we know what the fans want and how they wanted explaining and how we're going to talk about. Pike is a fleet captain. Oh, well, Kirk only met Pike when he was a fleet admiral. Oh, well, he's going to be field promoted for this one mission because he has to control these ships. Bang, there you go. Holodecks, oh, we'll explain that. This, Gorn, Klingon, and it's just so sublimely done by competent writers. And it
explains the technology, it explains the timeline, it fits thing, and it also just has as extra time space for the best character development I think we've seen since DS9. I would say that the character development in Strange New Worlds is better than Enterprise or Voyager's. Voyager's is we know how I feel about that. Well, I love it, but it has a lot of stagnant characters and things that they just don't know what to do with. And
I think
unlike Enterprise, it just forgets characters exist halfway through.
I think the skill of Strange New Worlds is that it does that with such a short amount of time. But it feels like we've known them for 20 episodes, 30 episodes, 40 episodes. And even in this episode where we've got La'an in the holodeck, we get to know what she likes and her feelings and we just get to see why Scotty is Scotty and how Scotty becomes who he does become in the original series in this episode. And we just get to see the crew. And even Una says it towards the end of the episode. You know, there were 203 people on board. We work as a team. No one should get through stuff alone. We rely on each other because we are all a team. And you see that.
Well, it's the human side of it. I mean, obviously, it's something that we need to talk about with the episode of Strange World.
Yeah, let's get back to the episode.
Scotty's development in this one is the idea of, because he trusted someone and got let down so dramatically, where he trusted his air chief engineer on his previous ship. What's it called? The Star Dancer or the
Stardiver?
Stardiver. And basically, it all went to crap. That person did not do their job properly, and it's what caused the horrendous things that happened to them. And that is something that I think a lot of people can relate to. I mean, I would even accuse you of being guilty of this, where you personally very much like doing everything yourself simply because you know that you can rely on yourself. You know that if you do all of the things, it will be the best possible product. And the fact is, you are not wrong. That is true. And a lot of the time in business, if you go, hey, if I just work really, really hard on this and do it all myself, it will be the best it can be. And that is true. But you're also part of a team in a lot of cases. And you have to be able to agree, yeah, if I delegate this bit of work to this other person, it might not actually be as good as if I did it, but it means that it's less stress for me. It means it's they get better at what they're doing and stuff. And that's what teamwork is about. And
that is why he's been given the role of promotion. And I give him a link
and failing badly.
I give him a link and I go.
Yeah, go and do this.
Do the thing.
And it's purely this thing, but it's very much from both sides, because the relationship that we have is the fact that because you are so good at doing everything, I kind of just go, oh well, I don't need to get involved with that and stuff. And that's me being terrible. That is me being a sort of going, no, actually, even though he says things are fine, I should be actually, should I do this and whatnot? And that's the thing with Scotty. It's the fact of Pellier has done it. Obviously, the Pellier thing, we need to discuss that, I think. But it's the fact of, effectively, the character as she's written here has just gone, yeah, cool, just sort yourself out, do it however you want. And that is terrible. That is terrible command and management from her, that she has just gone, yeah, oh, you like working on your own? Cool, we'll just do it.
Even the reference to logs, where he goes on about her logs and stuff, they're absolutely awful to understand and stuff. And he's if I was her CEO, so if I was Una, I mean, I'm coming under that realization now as a manager myself that, if I behaved that way and there was someone who I managed who couldn't do those logs properly or did logs and they made absolutely no sense, you would pull them up on it. You wouldn't just let it slide, because let's not forget, these logs, these records, they are imperative in case anything happens and someone needs to find out what happened or anything. Do you know what I mean? You need this paper trail, this clear audit of what happened, when it happened, and how it happened. And if they are not following that, and Pelly is not following that, bad management.
And it's like we see in business, we have it where the employee can't work as a team because he's far better on his own and he's worried of delegating because other people can be fallible. And then we have the manager who's going, hey, if I'm not needed, oh, that's cool. Well, I don't need to be here today. Just let him, carry on with stuff. Oh, he's a good employee. That's it. There is someone at my workplace who I am terrible with because I just go, wow, he has everything under control. I won't bother him. He's doing fine. Whereas obviously I do have to check myself and go he shouldn't be doing this amount of work. Other people should be pulling their weight. I should be getting involved with this and whatnot, because that's a house of cards. And that's exactly what the situation here is. The peril in this episode is that the holodeck messes up. The rest of the ship can't actually function and is having power cuts at critical times. And it's all because a manager did not trusted their employee and just went, cool, he doesn't need any help. And the employee said, I have to do everything myself and I can't ask for help. I mean, but it's great development that Scotty does ask for help. He turns to Una no, he turns to Uhura and just goes like, "So, I mean, it's a wonderful little conversation we have where he has a conversation with Uhura, like, hypothetically, if I had lost the ability to communicate with Laan in the holodeck, what would I do about this?" And it's a fun little discussion because you get to see Uhura's face where she just goes like, "Oh God," like,
Yeah.
and it's great where she's just like,
It was so genuine as well the way she did it.
she's such a good. All of them are good actors.
They are really good.
But that bit and then him being like, it's so endearing where at the end of the conversation after they talk about it, so hypothetically if I tried that and it hadn't worked and then we tried this and it didn't work and she's just like, okay, you need to find a solution, and then he just goes like, okay, by the way, when I was saying hypothetically, I didn't actually mean it, and she's like, yeah, I cottoned on to that. It's just it's so cute and endearing for Scotty.
Before we discuss Laan and Spock, I really want to highlight Anson Mount's performance as TK,
Yeah.
as the Roddenberry character, and the sheer amount of research he went into with Jonathan Frakes to study the movements of Gene Roddenberry on the set of the original series. And
See, this is something that I don't know about. I have never gone down the rabbit hole of looking into Gene Roddenberry as a person, so I didn't realize that this was as close.
do
like,
yourself a favor, don't.
That's why I haven't. It's that whole thing of I don't want these heroes to be destroyed. Like it's the whole. I know he was controversial in places and he did like a short skirt, but.
But the mannerisms that Mount portrays in this episode, it's so much Roddenberry, and the way that they designed him as like this more out there persona of Gene Roddenberry with the more flamboyant hair and the shirts and everything like that, and it's just fantastic. It's just Mount is like more or less a very minor character in this episode, apart from towards the end. But he is so good in this episode. But he was when they did the fairy tale episode in season 1, when he I think he was a prince or something like that. There, look at that. That is
the most handsome man in Trek.
It is the most handsome man in a perm. And it just Babs as well. Babs is amazing in this. But it just, for me, it just shows how Mount is such a good character actor as well as just being a tremendous actor. But I do, because we do need to wrap this up pretty sharply, we need to get on to Laan and Spock.
Yeah.
The build-up that we have seen since episode 2 of this season between Laan and Spock. And spoiler alert, I'm going to give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoiler alert. Spock that we see in the holodeck is actual holodeck recreation. It is not the actual Spock. And Spock turns out, the holographic Spock turns out to be the killer. Okay? So Laan does that, and Laan finds it out because she gave the computer a task to create a challenging adventure for herself based on her detective skills, and they realised that Spock would be the challenge that Laan needs.
Yeah.
One question.
She would never suspect him.
One question. Where was Spock outside the holodeck when everything was going wrong?
This is one of my flaws with the episode. The fact is, like we were saying earlier, this is an episode where we have to give it leeway because there's a lot of holes in it. And one of the holes is the idea of going, there is no way that Spock would not be there with Scotty. Like, there is a throwaway line. They have considered it, okay? Where they have it where, Una basically goes, hey, since Pelly is not here, do you want, like, Spock to work with you again, like last time? And he's like, no, I'm fine, kind of thing. And to the point where that they've specifically asked for Spock not to help Scotty through this process, or he's specially asked for that. But it's still, I think they hide it by the fact of, if Scotty had been more clear that there was a crisis, I think they would have sent Spock. But the
I
fact is, it's very suspicious. He's not on the bridge. He's not involved with the experiment. Yeah,
I'm going to
it's
rewatch this for the
and
fourth.
it's to make the twist happen.
I'm going to rewatch this for the third time, and I'm going to look at the bridge scenes when the neutrino star is exploding, and I'm going to look for Spock in the background.
He won't be there. He is not there at all. They have.
I think even if it's just the faint whiff of a blue that we see in a blurred shot somewhere or something like that, it would be appreciated. But that is, I agree with you. That is a hole in this episode that is just. He is such a key component to the Enterprise crew that if something is going wrong on the bridge, he would be there. He would not be practicing dance lessons in his quarters.
Yeah. I mean, they could have gotten around it by basically having it, but I wonder if it would have made the twist like more obvious. If they made it where he has to do something, he has essential meditation to do, he has essential work that he needs to do, and then when he's on the holodeck, when Laan goes in, she's just like, "Hey, you shouldn't be here. You were going to work on that," and he's like, "Actually, I thought it would be more, fun to." Help you with this. And she's just like, "Oh, well, you're not needed anyway, but I'll give you a call if needed." But the way it works is it's a good twist. It's a good twist. And what I like, I can parallel this to another wonderful episode of Trek. And another, you know how last time we were able to sort of like refer to previous episodes of Trek? Like we were talking about Voyager Extreme Risk in the third episode. In this one, we have the DS9 episode Heart of Stone, and it's the episode where Odo gets trapped in a cave with Kira, and Kira is slowly being turned into stone.
Yeah.
And through this episode, and through Kira being put into peril, Odo realizes actually he's in love with her. And it's that kind of, oh God, I didn't want to face this, but I've kind of realized that actually I feel this way. And he confesses it to her without realizing that it's that. In this, we get the same thing. We get a parallel of this, where basically Laan is on the holodeck with Spock, and then she has this moment where, when she thinks, when he gets shot, because obviously TK comes in with the gun, very drunk, and she tries to get the gun off him. A shot rings out, and Spock falls to the ground. And then we see this genuine concern from her, which is the most emotion we've seen from Laan. When she realizes that Spock that might actually be heard. And then in that moment, she's like hugging him, and there's this look in her eyes that basically goes, she's just realized in that moment, not only is he the actual killer, and that's the only thing that actually makes sense, but also that she's in love with him. And then it's over the next conversation that she realizes that actually he's not really Spock. And then she talks about it, she kind of goes like, well, actually, no, it's that conversation where she realizes he's not actually Spock, and she asks, "Why are you like this? Why are you being so cold and whatnot?" And he's like, "Oh, well, you asked me to be like, aloof or
detach.
Whatever." But
you asked me to detach myself.
yeah, but it's not. It's the fact of the final scene we get where Laan finally goes to Spock and they have a dance together and they kind of end up talking about their feelings. It's the fact in that she goes, "He was not acting the way that you act like me." But that holographic representation was based entirely on how Spock is for everyone else.
Yeah.
And that was her realization of going, even though we can't tell Vulcans apart because they're so aloof a lot of the time and they're so stern, she just goes, wow, the way you act about me is not how you act about other people.
Yeah.
Oh, so I think that you feel the same way. And it's so beautifully done. And
It is.
I challenge anyone who thinks that this romance felt like shoehorned or it wasn't sort of preempted. I think it's a wonderful path for the show to go on.
I think it's wonderful yet tragic, because
we know that it can't end happily.
Yeah, we know, but again, you know, riffing off what you said earlier on, I have so much faith in the writers of this series that the way that they do it will be brilliant. It will be beautiful the way they do it.
Following on from what is it? I'll let you finish because it's rude. But following on from what we said about the last episode, where people were, like, I saw an article where the headline was "Star Trek: A Strange New World squanders its greatest plot line," and it was referring to the last episode with Umbenga, where they were going, They should have left that how it was. But then obviously my view on it in our last episode was, but I think they're going to take it somewhere. I have all the faith that they're going to make it into something better than just leaving it where it was.
I'm sorry,
But
the shed has commented faith of the heart. I'm going to change his name on Facebook to the Shed. The Shed.
I'd climb inside that shed. I'm suddenly
all I'm
blocked.
saying, Dave, all I'm saying is, thank God you do not tune into my Twitch. So, thank God Graham doesn't.
I think I actually can tomorrow as well because my usual thing's not on.
We'll get to that later on. All in all, though, I really like this episode. I really enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed the messaging. I enjoyed the style of it. I enjoyed the direction. I think the way that Paul Wesley hammed up Saint.
Yeah.
Is it Saint? What's his name?
Maxwell Saint.
Maxwell Saint. The way he hammed up the 60s Kirk character was just. And let's not forget, this was directed by Frakes, and of course, we had to have a Riker maneuver over an actual TOS chair that failed miserably. And I love the fact he's like, Jesus Christ, I was just trying to get up my leg over the chair. I loved it so much.
All of it is just a homage. Like, it's the fact
Yeah.
that the episode starts with the Last Frontier show or whatever, where it's all hammy and, you know, we're like,
Yeah.
what the hell's going on here? And then it has a special intro sequence for the episode, which is all done as though it was the show that they're talking about with
Yeah.
different credits and stuff like that. And then we get into the actual episode. We have the holodeck that is absolutely wonderfully done. We have the peril with the nebula and whatnot. And then at the end, after it's all said and done, we have bloopers reel from The Last Frontier, where it's all fake bloopers from it.
Sorry.
Of all this stuff.
Sorry.
So we see...
Sorry.
Yeah.
Breaking news. Breaking news. Message from David.
Oof, that's a
Oof.
gorgeous shed.
Ew, God, it's got a window and everything.
Easier access. But but we get these like sort of bloopers that happen, and it's just it's incredible because, like you say, we have like the alien not knowing the right way to go because it can't see because it got prosthetics over its face. We have it tripping over thing. We have the door slide. You know, the people that are moving the like door when it's supposed to be open not working.
That was a real outtake in the TOS as well, and it's
yeah. And then obviously we have the Riker maneuver where they've had it where Kirk tries to do a Riker maneuver, ends up breaking the set, and it's absolutely wonderful because it goes, we know Star Trek, we know the fans, and yeah, absolutely everything. You know what question I have though? Who was playing the alien? Was it Una?
I don't know. I
don't know. I couldn't work it out in the credits.
I'm gonna have a look.
It's Una or La'an, but it could be any of them.
While I have a look, I have a question for you. In fact, I have a competition for you. All right, this is a competition, right? And I'm gonna do a quick poll. Who can pull off the better Kirk face? Myself or Synoiz? All right, so I'm going to create a poll. Okay, I'm going to create a poll just as a bit of fun while I do some research. So there's me, and who pulled off a better Kirk? Right. So what I want to do when I start, but just before I start this poll, me and Synoiz are going to do our best Kirk pulls face from A Space Adventure Hour. Okay, very Zoolanders. So I'm going to go first. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
So there's mine. There's mine.
Okay.
Show me. Show me your
win this
best.
one. Okay,
I
good.
think you can. Oh.
The problem is, I can't do this much because if I go like that, it looks a bit 1930s. So it's a bit, you know.
Well, I'm hard.
I'm trying to grow it out, but I think you've won this one. I think. Hold on, I'm going to vote for you.
I think Germany was trying to grow it out as well in the 30s.
It was into Poland. Well, but enough about.
Speaking of Paul, and let's.
Some fools voted for me. What fools?
Who's voted for you? Who's voted? I'm trying to find out who played the alien. Let me have a look.
Someone who's listening to audio has done me.
Who sent a WhatsApp message? Oh, right. Trying to find out who played the alien.
No, it said in the chat. David said it. Kira Gearden plays Alien, who was on Robin Hood with him. I assumed it was going to be another member of the cast.
Yeah,
it was going to be Una or whatnot, but no, they've got a special actress in it apparently. Can you tell us more about that, David?
The shed is the one with the information, so we should get some exclusives on this. So, open yourself up, oh great tool cupboard, and give us some more information about this. Why am I winning this? What is wrong with you people? What are you high?
Better job.
Are you high?
I don't even have hair.
Do you have any other notes?
All the things I need to get away with, okay, is I love. Hold on, what I still have loads of stuff. Obviously, we haven't even mentioned the idea of Amelia Moon in this, but I love the idea that Amelia Moon is now a thing in Star Trek canon. It's made up for the show, but I love it. One interesting thing is that there is a problem with my TV where reds often seem a little bit brighter.
Really?
Like a problem with the TV where reds pop way too much on shows and stuff. So if there's ever blood or anything, it's crazy. And in this, La'an's outfit was ludicrous because her hat and her sort of like shawl were just blazing through my TV screen for the whole thing. You know, like there she is on the picture, but it was just super bright. I sort of
get it because when I watch, so obviously I've got my TV downstairs in my lounge, which is the sex dungeon because it's all red. But that TV's more set up for TV and film, and then up here my TV with my PS5 and my Xbox, that's more set up for gaming. So reds are more prominent on there. So I sort of get it because when I watched it on this TV, the red was more prominent than it was downstairs. It was more darker downstairs, so I really do get it. Oh my God, what is wrong with you people? 66% said I had the better Kirk face.
You were better.
Synoiz. She played the sheriff in Robin Hood with me. They did some bits on Trek. She was also the bartender in a previous episode. No way.
Yeah. So she's the regular. Because we are going to be seeing the bartender more, they must have had the actress on set to be like, hey, do you want to play this alien as well? Yes.
We're going to have to get her on the episode.
Thank you so much, David, for that. But,
we're going to have to get her on the episode.
We should definitely
She should make us drinks, right? And then what we can see is like an arm come in with the glass. And then, like, over to you, another arm comes in with another glass, and she's just in the middle just making drinks. And we just see the random arms coming in. I think that would be a great bit of comedy. Anyway, you were saying.
But yeah, okay, so I'm just going to blaze through all of the things that I had, okay? First of all, my first thing that I hated about the episode was when they originally go into the holodeck, the CG on the door is awful. Like the actual...
It's bad.
It's awful. It has the door shutting behind her and then vanishing, but it just doesn't. It feels really fake. It's not like the quality that we've had in previous episodes.
There is an error with the actual titles of season 3 as well. The way the Enterprise, the side of the Enterprise. I'm reclaiming my virginity. You see the red bit here?
Yeah.
There is a scene in the titles where this is further down the hull and it's not aligned.
Ah, right. Okay, there we go.
Damn you, Paramount!
The next issue I have is, I think it's... the next issue is Uhura's character in the simulation is looking for a light. Their whole thing is that they need to light a cigarette and they're going round. And yet there is literally a bathroom full of candles where the guy has died.
As we have experienced within Star Trek, Science Officer Synoiz.
Yeah, no, candle love.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I didn't light that candle.
But this is the thing though. This was at a time when I don't think they had like electric candles, so it is that thing of that is a bit weird. What else is there?
Erotic fiction from your grandmother's novel.
I loved Mr. Spock doesn't watch much TV, so he's a communist as a line. I thought it was quite good. Let's go through all of these things quickly. I didn't like Mbenga. I didn't like Mbenga's character.
I feel it was wasted.
Accent felt weird, and I don't know. I wasn't keen on him, and he didn't really do anything.
Going for mood lighting, everybody.
What else is there? Yeah, I love the line from Pike, which is, "I'm a writer. I'm never happy about anything." The main issue there, though, is that basically we have the whole thing of Uhura's looking for a light, and then the fireplace lights up. She tries to light a cigarette in the fireplace, but then realizes it's a fake fire, and then walks away from it. But then La'an finds like a little strip of film in the fire, and then goes, "Wow, they must have been trying to destroy this. They must have thought that this was a fake fire as well." And the problem is that then they go and watch that footage, and
all
there is
30 centimeters of it.
That's it, yeah, exactly. But it goes on for about sort of like 4 minutes, the actual thing, whereas they get about sort of 20, like not even 20 seconds of footage from that strip. They get about 5 seconds of footage. From
Not even that. Not for 30 centimeters, you get nothing.
And also, the most important bit about the video they're watching is the dialogue, but there would be no sound, because the sound would be entirely done in a different way. That is, and this is a question that, and then we have that, and what else is there? Just, I'm going to blaze through it and then kind of quickly...
24 frames a second, guys, so there would have literally been 1 second of footage on this.
Yeah, it's... also, obviously, TK has the gun and he shoots, but it's the fact that he pulls in a Murder, She Wrote trope that I love, which is the idea of he's suggesting that Amelia Moon is actually the killer because everywhere she goes, she's surrounded by death.
Death always follows you.
Yeah, he suggests that she's the killer simply because, and that is a wonderful little nod to, the trope of like Murder, She Wrote, I think, and those kind of similar things. But I think, and it made me think, like, when you try and justify in your head, like, unlike Discovery, where I don't find myself filling in the blanks forward or helping it by being like, oh, well, we can justify that this way or whatever. With this, I'm kind of going like, how does the holodeck work? Does the holodeck work like a video game or like a movie where you get movie logic? Like, you get plot armor, you get superhero stuff. Like, does it represent... when it generates a simulation, does it represent real life as accurately as possible, or does it kind of go, oh, we don't need to show that how it actually is, you get the idea? Like on a video game where you go like, hey, you have a tiny block and that represents a full meal, but actually, or like Resident Evil where you just go, Jill has 3 rocket launchers in her backpack and yet you can't see them. So you wonder if the holodeck kind of goes, oh, you found some film in a fireplace, even though it is only a tiny little strip and shouldn't have sound, for the sake of the simulation,
Speaking of Resident Evil, someone called me Leon Kennedy on Friday.
Okay. Did you turn the lights on and prove them wrong?
It was in Argos. I went into my local Argos.
Yeah.
And I had a leather jacket and my frosted tips, and she went,
okay.
She went, "Ooh, you look like Leon Kennedy in that jacket," and I'm just like, really?
Find me an untrustworthy Asian woman, and we'll work with it.
Find me a Jill. Eon.
No, that's Ashley.
Ashley. That's right. Yeah. Yes. Find me an Ashley that just runs into traffic. But What was I going to say?
But do you think that though? Like, do you think that the
Yeah.
holodeck goes, "Hey, we're going to fill in the blanks for you," and it's not going to be real? Because this is the thing that the holodeck
It's a suspension of
has so many
disbelief.
flaws. Yeah, it has so many flaws where it's like you would have walked into that wall by now. There's no way that two people can be in this and not be able to hear each other.
It's very much video game logic where it's like, I don't know where to go. How about the room with the light above it? Do you know what I mean? It's subliminal, pushing you along the narrative path. And I think with holodecks, it's very much, it takes the movie and game and TV tropes and just emphasizing them in a real life situation. So I think there is an element of suspension of disbelief, and I think this is why people like Data and Spock would, struggle with the likes of the holodeck, where, where Data is playing Sherlock Holmes, and it's like, oh, create a mystery, for Data to solve, and he solves it within like 30 seconds. Do you know what I mean? And then that's where you get the whole Moriarty thing from and everything like that, because he looks at it from he looks at it from a logical way, a studied way, where he's analyzed all possible data and and he's like, yep, this is done. And it's like, no, the holodeck requires you to suspend logic and disbelief and sort of envelop yourself within that world.
It's the fact that it is intelligent enough to go, oh, you want a challenge, I need to give you something outside the box. And I totally forgot about the Moriarty episode in regards to this episode, but it's another reference between this episode and
Spock and Conan Doyle.
It goes, exactly the same thing, where it kind of goes like, hey, I ask you to make a challenge to challenge me specifically. And that's how we get Moriarty, because they go, hey, Data will be able to solve anything. We need to think outside the box. Yeah. And then with this one with Laan, she's just like, the computer's just like, okay, what will she not suspect? She's not going to suspect Spock. Okay, well, we'll put Spock into it. And the fact that the game starts before she even starts the simulation. When she walks into that holodeck, it's already begun. With holodeck Spock there. And it's genius. And
it is.
I like, though, that there's also little bits that Laan does in the episode which makes her kind of go, like, you can see it when Uhura's going through her monologue. You can kind of see this light in Laan's eyes where she's kind of just going like, wow, the computer this is not just a simulation. This is like a sort of intelligence. This is a life. This is like, incredibly real. And I wonder if that even factors into her decision. Like, you could definitely have taken this in a different direction of going, this can be dangerous. Like, this could be like emotionally manipulative to the people using it. Like, But yeah, anyway, that's my diatribe. There's loads of other stuff I could talk about, but we'll be here forever. So yeah,
I think that is a good place to wrap up this review of A Space Adventure Hour. The only thing I have got to say is I think that TK.
I nearly said Simmons, and it's not.
I think TK. And I'm going to say this until my dying days, because he will probably kill me. I think it looks like Mark. I think I need to give Mark a perm, and I think it would look like Mark. I don't know if that's a compliment.
I don't think that's an insult. I think it's the idea of, like, I think it's the nicest thing you could say, like, to Mark, is the idea of going, hey, you have parallels to a genius man, to Roddenberry. Is it the wind? Is it hitting you there? The storm.
The side of the house that I'm on, just like the wind, just like vibrated the windows, and I'm just like, oh God, no. I'm gonna, because Marcus is currently on a plane. I think he's being deported. So I'm gonna message him when he lands. Yeah, finally. Because he was like, see you in 15 hours, and I'm like, me personally, or so I'm gonna message him. I'm just gonna go, you look like Fat Anson Mount. And just see if I get fired. But I think that's...
Fat Anson Man, wow. Okay.
He can never be fat, he's so gorgeous. That has
But
been
thank
our
you,
review.
everyone, for tuning
Oh,
in. This has been our review of A Space Adventure
I
Season
know.
3, Episode 4. It has been wonderful. I know we've gone all over the shop with this and stuff, but I think what we've done today is we've talked about the stuff that I don't think the other podcasts will have talked about. I think the points that we've made today, the things that we've gone into, rather than specifically what happened in the episode, because we still want you all to watch it, because that's all Paramount cares about is the amount of viewers. Uh, Hopefully, we have justified our existence as our own weird brand of Star Trek podcast.
The one last thing I want to mention is why is the makeup of my chromosomes, but why does Paramount have the weirdest age restrictions, not on the series, but each individual episode? Why is episode 1 and 2 a 12, episode 3 a 15, episode 4 a 12?
It'll be the zombies in episode 3. It'll be because people actually get attacked and eaten and stuff. Because you get to see like dead people and like a room full of people explode because he throws a grenade. Well, he overcharges a phaser.
Such specific age restrictions per episode.
Yeah, rather than the whole thing.
We absolutely love doing Trekking Up North. I know this was an impromptu live, but the stars aligned and we were able to do this. We hopefully
will be seeing you on Friday. I have moved things around.
Hopefully we will be. Oh my god. We will be there on Friday to review episode 5, which is called Through the Lens of Time, which I know nothing about. I just know the episode title. We will be there on Friday. Tomorrow, because I couldn't do it tonight, the Twitch channel of Captain Goodwill will be live from 7:30 as Goodwill the Cowboy will be... I don't know where my props are. Goodwill the Cowboy will be live on the Captain Goodwill Twitch channel tomorrow at 7:30. Cousin Grindwill is coming soon. I did all the material for that yesterday whilst I was totally downloading a legitimate version of Best of Both Worlds. Synoiz, are you doing anything this week that we should promote?
I'm doing a lot of things, but obviously no, because I've had a hell of a day because we just literally had the Girl podcast earlier on today with a wonderful guest that will be coming out next Thursday, I believe. We were chatting to the wonderful Something Wong about the new Asian-only series of Drag Race that's coming out next Tuesday, I think. It's absolutely...
I think it's down in the description. Let me just have a quick look.
Yeah. It's a fun thing, but check out the Girl podcast. We've had so many wonderful guests this week.
Yes, it is. It's in the description down below.
There we go. Cool.
I
the
put
Girl
it
podcast.
down there.
I will probably try and do some streaming after the episode on Friday. I will try and do that. Whether it's going to be more music again and exciting things.
I was so impressed by that when you were producing those tracks. I was blown away by the amount of knobs and whistles that you were operating, and you were doing it with such poise and such grace. You were like a savant of the knob. You were
I think it's that fascinating thing, though, that when you know something, you can make it look really easy, but you don't realize that that's a skill. Like,
it was
unbelievably
beautiful to watch.
It's like me sort of getting up on stage and hosting something or presenting something, and everyone's just like, "How can you just do that?" And I'm like, "Well, I just do." Like, because you don't realize it's a thing, and then you realize that other people struggle with that sort of thing. But with music, it's like that. That is a thing that I've been doing for a day. Like, literally, this is I think last year was the 15th anniversary of my first album.
Yes, it was.
That's it. Ambience.
Because we gave away the CDs, remember?
Ago.
Yeah.
Oh, bollocks. Yeah. But
yes.
All of that. And then we were talking about, like I've been doing music for so long and it's second nature, just that you don't think about it.
I was blown away.
I kind of love that I'm kind of, because I couldn't hear anything. I felt like bloody Mozart in the bad way. Where basically, because what happened is I was doing the stream, we hadn't found a way for audience watching it to hear the same thing as I was hearing. So the choice was either they couldn't hear the music and I could hear it, or I got to hear a really tinny version and they got to hear it perfectly. So I was
Really?
going through picking out sound effects or tweaking like knobs to get sounds when everything sounded like and it's actually not. It's a drum noise. It's a sound of someone hitting a bin, but actually all I was hearing was like and I had to go on my memory of what that particular sound sample file sounded like compared to what I was hearing. And I was quite pleased that when I actually stopped the stream and listened back to it, I was like, oh, that is actually how I intended it.
It was
that is the
amazing.
right sound effect.
I was compelled. Like I had you on the laptop and I moved you to the big screen. I moved you to my TV because I was just looking at it and I'm just like, the way that you were doing it, I was like, this is just mind blowing to see how good he is at this. I'm looking at it going, I'm scared to look at all these knobs, and he's just like la 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 la. It was a ballet.
There are a lot of knobs on it and stuff on synthesizers and whatnot, but bear in mind I wasn't using all of them. There are so many things on it where I'm like, I never ever touch that. Like, the amount of times when I don't use like high pass filters or whatnot, I'm just going, nope, actually that's fine. I'll just, I'll sort it at a different level. But anyway, new album coming out soon. We'll have that. And what else is there? Also, oh god, there was a big thing that was meant to be talking about, and I forgot what it is. Oh yes, there will be another 24-hour gaming stream, as myself and my best mate Ian have done for the past 4 years now. Is this going to be the 4th year one? We have a 24-hour gaming stream that we do every year to raise money for St. Benedict's Hospice. We are going to be doing that sometime in September, so not this month, but next month.
Oh my god, it's only next month.
Yeah, that's it. September's next month. So yeah, I would be very pleased if everyone can save some cash and take part in that, and we will work out what to do for it.
Go down below to find all the links to our friends, all the links to my socials, all the links to the Velvet Snatch and Synoiz's Twitch channel and everything like that. Go down below and like. If you like this video, smash that like button. If you are not a subscriber to Trekkin Up North, get subscribed. Let us get these numbers built up. We have got a big year coming next year. We are going to the conventions. We have been asked to go to one convention which we all know about, but we'll be attending next year for Destination Trek if it's still on. We're looking at STLV. We want to build up the numbers. Share Trekking Up North far and wide with everyone that you know. It is so unbelievably difficult with myself and Synoiz's schedules to do proper hardcore promotion. We do not have the time. I can't even listen to his voice notes at work at the moment, so I'm just like, is someone dead? And that's it. So please share this with everyone you know who is a Trekkie or who might not be a Trekkie and just likes two northern idiots talking about something weird. Please do that. We will be back
to help the algorithm. Okay, if you have watched this far into the episode, if you have actually gotten to the end of this episode, then I want you to post as a comment on this video what you thought of this particular episode.
Yes.
Like,
comment.
And tell us who you thought was the killer. Like, could Spock have actually been the killer? Like, did that make sense for Spock to kill? Is it Tony? Is it?
Yeah, Tony.
Yeah. Like, could he have done that? Or was there another killer? Or was it just holodeck voodoo? Tell us your theory about it. And then that helps the algorithm. It makes the video seem more popular to the algorithm. And then more people watch it. And it gets shown to more people. And then we can build the channel that way. That would be great for us.
Share.
You can even comment nonsense. And it would be good,
I can't do shorts at the moment because I got, that's a spoiler. So I'm trying to hold off until a few weeks until everything gets done. So I can't build the traction on that. But please share. Shed was the killer. You are a killer. M. Night Shyamalan. But please share this with everyone. We will be back on Friday. I will be on Twitch tomorrow. Synoiz will be on Twitch on Friday. I'm recording an episode of the Clone Star podcast, so please give the Clone Star a good old follow if you want to see me talking bollocks about starships. That's what I do. I don't have a life anymore. I don't know what the sex is. So please Like, share, subscribe, do everything. I have been Captain Goodwill of the USS Adequate. He has been Science Officer Synoiz. Take care of each other, look after each other, live long and prosper, and as ever, on Trekkin up north. Niles? Niles? I said Niles. Miles?
Niles?
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 You call that Klingon blood wine?